Some injuries don't just ruin Sundays. Oh no, they rewrite entire chapters of NFL history.
When Miami got spooked about Drew's surgically repaired shoulder, the Saints stepped up, so Brees headed to the Bayou. But what if Brees had gone to Miami?
Today, we're diving into the top 10 most impactful quarterback injuries over the years. The ones that sent shockwaves through the league and changed the course of the NFL history books in ways that nobody saw coming. Drew Brees, San Diego Chargers, 2005. Drew Brees. Man, this one's a doozy, because this injury wasn't just about Brees' career. This is the injury that reshaped two franchises and launched a Hall of Fame career somewhere that it wasn't supposed to happen. It is the sliding door moment that left the team that drafted him wondering, what if, for years? After an up-and-down start to his career with the Chargers, Brees silenced the doubters of the breakout 2004 season, and he followed it up with another strong campaign in 2005. But then came Week 17. Late in a game against the Broncos, Brees dove for a fumble near the goal line and took a big hit to the shoulder and tore his labrum. The Chargers, staring at a tough decision, took the safe route. They let Brees walk in free agency and handed the keys to Rivers, a moment that changed the league forever. The Miami Dolphins had first dibs, but they passed on Brees in favor of Dante Culpepper, who was coming off his own injury. Oof. So that sent Brees elsewhere, and that place ended up being New Orleans. The Saints were a complete mess, still reeling from the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and desperate for a new face of the franchise. Brees became far more than just a quarterback in New Orleans. He became a savior. He made the Saints relevant, delivered a Super Bowl in 2009, and turned a franchise once known for paper bags into one of the league's most stable winners. Meanwhile, Miami spiraled into quarterback limbo, and the Chargers found some success with Phillip Rivers, but definitely not the same heights that Brees achieved. When all is said and done, Brees' shoulder essentially changed the destiny of three franchises and planted the seed for a Super Bowl banner in the Superdome. Carson Wentz, Philadelphia Eagles, 2017. Carson Wentz. This one's like taking a glimpse into an alternate NFL universe, because this was not just a typical starting quarterback goes down sort of story. This was a full-blown butterfly effect that flipped the script for an entire franchise, rewrote Super Bowl history, and indirectly launched two quarterback careers, while sinking another. Wentz was having a flat-out magical year in 2017. In just his second season, he looked like the guy, an MVP frontrunner who had the Eagles flying high at 11-2. The arm was electric, the pocket presence was real, and the entire city of Philadelphia was bracing for something special. Then, it all changed when he took that low hit against the Rams that tore his ACL. Wentz's season was over, and in stepped Nick Foles. Even leading a great team, the expectations were kinda low. Manage the offense, don't crash the car, something like that. And the Eagles went from Super Bowl favorites to afterthoughts. But what followed was perhaps one of the most improbable playoff runs in NFL history. Foles lit the league on fire, absolutely dismantling the Vikings in the NFC title game and then outdueling Tom Brady in a shootout for the ages to bring Philly its first ever Lombardi trophy. And man, the ripple effects were something else. Wentz never fully reclaimed the locker room, or his old form. Meanwhile, Foles became a Philly folk hero. Wentz would get traded to the Colts 3 years later, and the Eagles burned through quarterbacks before landing on Jalen Hurts, who eventually brought them back to a Super Bowl. Had Wentz not gotten hurt, the Eagles might not have won that Super Bowl. Foles might have never gotten another starting gig. The NFC playoff picture would have looked completely different. Heck, Doug Peterson might still be the head coach in Philly if that post-injury dynamic with Wentz hadn't gotten so toxic. It's safe to say that Wentz going down didn't just alter one team's trajectory, it shook up the entire NFC. It rewrote coaching careers and gave the city of Philadelphia the moment they had waited decades for. Peyton Manning, Indianapolis Colts, 2011. This is a unique one. Let's rewind. The Colts went 10-6 in 2010, made the playoffs, business as usual in Indy, but then rumors started to swirl that Manning wasn't healthy, and eventually it became clear that he's gonna get off-season neck surgery, which was not ideal, but it was manageable, or so it seemed. Except it wasn't just one surgery. Oh no, it was 4. The final one, a spinal fusion, took place just days before the season opener, and suddenly the Colts were without their field general for the first time in over a decade. this was not just losing a quarterback, it was like yanking the engine out of a machine. They brought in Kerry Collins out of retirement, and well, that didn't work. So they rotated through Curtis Painter and Dan Orlovsky. And to very little surprise, that didn't work either. And the result was a brutal 2-14 season that left the fan base in shock and the front office facing a once-in-a-generation decision. They cut ties with their future Hall of Famer and hit the reset button. They drafted Andrew Luck with the top overall pick in 2012, launching a new era. Meanwhile, Peyton landed in Denver and somehow got even better. He won MVP in 2013 and added another Super Bowl to his resume before calling it a career. This neck injury ended a dynasty. It launched a rebuild. It determined the landing place for a generational quarterback prospect and sent one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to finish his career in the Orange and Navy. Trent Green, St. Louis Rams, 1999. This one is not talked about enough, but it just might be the most important preseason injury in NFL history. In 1999, Green was supposed to be the guy. Mike Martz was drawing up an offensive masterpiece. All the weapons were in place, and Green looked like the perfect trigger man to bring it all to life. The Rams thought that at long last, they had finally found their quarterback. And then came the knee injury in a meaningless August game. Torn ACL, season over before it ever even started. The Rams were sent scrambling, and bam! Enter one Kurt Warner, a guy who, let's be honest, nobody outside of St. Louis had even heard of. The guy had literally been stocking shelves at a grocery store a few years earlier, and suddenly he was being asked to run the most aggressive offense in the entire league. Warner went nuclear. 4,353 yards, 41 touchdowns, league MVP, Super Bowl champion, and just like that, the greatest show on turf was born. Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk. It all clicked, and it was insanely impressive to watch. And Warner, the unknown backup, went from a footnote in football history to face of a franchise. As for Trent Green, well, he never started another game for the Rams. But to his credit, he handled it all with absolute class, supporting Warner, staying involved, and eventually carving out a solid career elsewhere. Tom Brady, New England Patriots, 2008. Heading into 2008, the Patriots weren't just a good football team, they were still viewed as inevitable. They had just gone 16-0 in the regular season. Brady had tossed 50 touchdowns, and even though they came up short in the Super Bowl, everyone expected them to come out swinging and pick up right where they left off. But 15 plays into the season opener, Bernard Pollard went low on a routine dropback, and boom! Tore Brady's ACL and MCL. And just like that, the league's best player was out for the year. And the Patriots' Super Bowl revenge tour? Canceled. The Pats still went 11-5 with Matt Castle under center, which is absolutely insane, all things considered. But sadly, it just wasn't enough for a playoff spot in a very loaded AFC. That marked the only time in the entire Brady-Belichick era that they won 11 games and didn't make the postseason. The league responded by introducing what is now effectively known as the Brady Rule, which prevents defenders from diving at a quarterback's knees while on the ground. Dan Marino, Miami Dolphins, 1993. The Dolphins were coming off an AFC Championship game appearance in 1992 and had legit title hopes in 93. Marino was still slinging it, the roster had talent, and Don Shula was still running the show. Miami started the season 4-1 and looked every bit like a team ready to make a serious run when Marino went down with a torn Achilles. That was the last time Miami was truly in the Super Bowl conversation. They haven't been to an AFC title game ever since. Marino sadly never got his ring, and the Dolphins entered decades of quarterback instability and coaching turnover. Randall Cunningham, Philadelphia Eagles, 1991. They'd have a real shot at making a Super Bowl run, but it all came crumbling down before it could ever really get started. It all happened during Week 1 against the Packers. In the second quarter, Cunningham dropped back, rolled out, and just like that, boom. Torn ACL, done for the year. Philly was forced to patch things together with a revolving door of Jim McMahon, Jeff Kemp, and Brad Gable, and the clock was reset on Philly's Super Bowl drought. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, 2017. In 2017, Green Bay started the year 4-1. Rodgers was dealing, the offense was clicking, and the Packers looked poised to take back the NFC North. Then came Week 6 against Minnesota when Anthony Barr broke his collarbone on a massive hit. With Rodgers out, the Packers were forced to turn to Brett Hundley, and oof. it showed. The offense sputtered, the defense cracked under pressure, and Green Bay went just 3-8 the rest of the way. They missed the playoffs for the first time in nearly a decade, and just like that, a Super Bowl hopeful was toast. This season started the rift between Mike McCarthy and Rodgers and exposed major holes on the roster that Rodgers was masking, eventually leading to the culture shift in Green Bay and the beginning of the LaFleur era. Drew Bledsoe, New England Patriots, 2001. When Bledsoe got knocked out in 2001, it didn't just change the Patriots, it changed the entire NFL. You see, this is the injury that turned a 6th-round pick into a global icon and quietly launched a dynasty that would define 2 whole decades of football. Yup, I'm sure you know this one, because his injury against the Jets created an opportunity for one Tom Brady to get into the mix. Just a second-year backup out of Michigan. No expectations, no spotlight, just a guy trying to keep the team afloat. Well, I think you could say he did a little more than just that. Brady took over, never flinched, and led the Pats all the way to a Super Bowl win over the heavily favored Rams. The team rallied around him, the dynasty was born, and Bledsoe, well, he never got his job back. He was traded to Buffalo the very next season. If that moment didn't happen, if Bledsoe slides, avoids the hit, or just pops up and keeps playing, who knows? Maybe Brady never gets a real shot. Maybe Belichick doesn't win 6 rings. Maybe the Patriots don't become the Patriots. The what-ifs with this single injury are out of this world. Boomer Esiason, New York Jets, 1993. Through 7 games, things were clicking. The Jets were 5-2, and Boomer looked comfortable in green. Midway through the game, one of the worst concussions of his career. So bad, in fact, that Boomer later admitted that he couldn't remember most of that day. The Jets lost steam, finished 8-8, and started the long, painful cycle of quarterback roulette that has haunted them for years. But hey, which NFL quarterback injuries do you think would have had the biggest ripple effect on the league? Who do you think we got right here? Was there anyone notable that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.